We acknowledge that our work takes place on unceded and occupied territories of the 575 plus Native nations. We are inviting you to take a moment to reflect on whose land you are living and working on. If you don't know, research and reflect. And in regards to the only one water, make sure that the sacred water that you drink, recognize that in your territory as well. It's very sacred, and we only have one water. So with that said, Donse Oyate Wianka Poin, people who see this woman, Joanelle Romero, Conce. I introduced myself in my language, and it's two languages, Apache and Lakota. I was given my Lakota name by Chief Leonard Crow Dog many, many years ago. I'd like to bring a special guest in, and she's going to do an opening honor song. Her name is Alex Rose Holiday, and she's a traditional singer, model, and artist. Hi, Alex.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So the song that I'm going to sing is called Children of Our Homeland. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That was so beautiful. Such an honor to hear traditional women sing and sing with the drum. It's very special. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm happy you were here today. So we're going to have a really exciting conversation today for our 13th annual Native Women in Film and Television and All Media. We're here today with our RNCI crew and allies. We have some very special guests and gorgeous individuals, and I love all of them. Our first guest is Marcei Brown, and she is a film producer and co-founder of Crewvie. We have Mike Fantasia. He is the former president of the Location Managers Guild International, and also a location manager for the up-and-coming Martin Scorsese's film, Killer of the Flower Moon. We have Cyny McCrossen. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Cyny. And she is now running the Albuquerque Film Office. And we have Carma Harvey. She is on the new TV series to be released, Dark Winds. She's a prop mistress, master, and all around, like, just hire her. That's all I have to say. She's amazing. And she's been at it for a long time. So, you know, we're going to have a conversation about, is Hollywood really being inclusive when they use the word diversity when it comes to Native and Indigenous talent, or are they just checking a box? Are they still just checking the box? And this is a really exciting time for our Native and Indigenous talent in the film industry. Especially coming, you know, off right now with Reservation Dogs and getting nominated and winning all these kinds of awards for, you know, cable television. And then we have, you know, some really great films that have won this year, not only at our Red Nation International Film Festival, like Night Raiders and Monkey Beach and all these other wonderful films, but we also have Killers of the Flower Moon coming out as well, hopefully this year, the end of the year. So I'd also like the audience to know that we have 40 films streaming right now, today, for our film festival, 40 films directed by women, and they're all very powerful, and most of them are award-winning films. So you can visit our website, nativewomeninfilm.com, and start binge watching, tell your friends, enjoy your week, and just have a blast looking at these films. Okay, I'd like to bring on our first guest, Marcei Brown. Marcei, we came to know Marcei through the Teamsters 399.
That's
Lindsay.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Marcei and Jeanette, who are founders of Crewvie, partnered with us for our RNCI crew. So RNCI crew is powered by Crewvie, and Marcei will explain what that means because she's better. And so Marcei is just, you know, Crewvie is the leading global platform for production studios and artists, which launched in 2018. They are the go-to for the film industry to get behind the camera, below the line talent. The database is like the biggest they're the only ones, Crewvie, that's it.
Over 50,000.
50,000, wow. And the platform is super easy to use.
Yep.
And I highly recommend, if there's any Indigenous talent listening right now, crew, to go sign up. You can go to our website and sign up. Yep. And you can go to Crewvie and sign up under RNCI crew. Also, Marcei is the founding partner of Catchlight Studios and Film, and with her partner, Jeanette, and they have spearheaded 20 films. And God, credits include Songbird and others. You know, oh God, and Black's Klansman, and the you know, which was an award-winning film. Oh, and the award-winning film Get Out. This is like some great great films. This is exciting. So let's have a conversation, Marcei, okay? Let's have a conversation. Can you tell us about what is Crewvie?
Yeah, great question. Jeanette Volturno and I are the co-founders of Crewvie. We are both working producers in the industry, and a couple years ago we were both working on separate projects, and we came together to lament about how difficult it was to find and balance our crews. So we just thought, you know, if we need this platform, then our colleagues must need it as well. And so we found two amazing female coders, and that's how Crewvie was born. But what's so exciting, what's happening with Crewvie now, it's done leaps and bounds, and presently it's, like you said, the leading global platform for productions and studios and artisans that serve as a proprietary resource application for comprehensive workflows, streamlining access to a well-diverse talent and measurable data focused on advancing DEI behind the camera, sustainability across productions, and more. That's just a slice of what it does. It's also, you know, it has many productivity tools that help people in production. It is an all-female founding team, and we all have vast experience in either production or technology. And as someone who has worked in physical production space for decades, I've experienced the pain points myself of trying to build a balanced team. And now the industry is finally starting to acknowledge the lack of diversity and equity and inclusion and access to behind the camera. And we are putting a process in place to ensure that DEI is top of the mind when building teams. So for example, we also are partners with Reframe, which is a part of Women in Film. And I know for me, when I'm building a project from the ground up, and I want to get that Reframe stamp as far as, you know, building my team with women in front of behind the camera, I can curate my team however I want to by using Crewvie, and I can do that by you know, in my projects, and those analytics will be able to tell me if I've reached the requirements of something like Reframe. So that's just a little slice of what we do.
Okay, fantastic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to introduce and ask one question of each of our guests, and then circle back around. So remember, if you are Native and Indigenous, you can sign up to Crewvie, and when you get on the Crewvie site, you look for RNCI Crew and put your name, and then the studios and production houses, whatever networks, if they want to hire Native and Indigenous talent, will see all of you there.
Yeah, producer, this is a way for us to really, there's no more excuses anymore. We can be able to find and balance our crews, and we can search for, you know, RNCI crews specifically on the site, and that's where we can find, you know, the RNCI teams.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our second guest, Mike Fantasia. And Mike, he was the former president of Location Managers Guild International. And they were one of the first partners to come on board when we launched RNCI Crew in the beginning of the pandemic, early pandemic, real early pandemic, like March 2020, something like that. Anyway, so I really appreciate Mike a lot, because and with the support of his team, Kristen Dewey, who reached out to me immediately when I sent all this information out into the universe, and she was on it, and I'm very grateful for that, because we've developed this great family, friends relationship. Mike just got finished wrapping Killers of the Flower Moon. So Mike, I'd like to ask you what in regards to Native and Indigenous talent and RNCI crew, what was that like on the film? This is a Native film, right? Theme, lens. So what was that like with the crew over there in Oklahoma?
Well, first of all, we're not quite wrapped. We have two more days, or one more day, a springtime shot in May. We're going to go back. I mean, officially, we're wrapped for all intents and purposes. But Marty's got this one shot to end the movie that we're going to be going back to do in Oklahoma in mid-May.
So that means I could be cast still. No,
you still got a chance. Still have a chance. You know, it was interesting. I've worked on 40 movies or so in my career, and this is the first one that really had anything to do with Indigenous people. And you know, it's a terrible story. It's a story that has to be told. You know, it's interesting because in Oklahoma, I think there's 23 different nations, and that from the beginning. And I was this film started almost 3 years ago, and then we worked for a while, then we went down because of the pandemic, and it took a while to come back up. And me, a couple of people in my department, and 3 or 4 other people were the only folks that transitioned from the first iteration to the second iteration of the film. And from the very, very beginning, hiring Indigenous crew was at the top of the list. Every department head that came in was pretty much told that, to search out folks that either have the skills or can learn the skills to work in the department. There was many huge casting calls in different places in Oklahoma for talent. We worked with the Oklahoma Film Office. We worked with different universities and schools. We worked with different nations, especially the Osage. We wanted to give the first priority to the Osage because we were making their story. And I can't tell you how many Osage and Native crew we had. It was a large component. You'd walk into the production office, and it was great to see because a lot of kids, I'll call them kids, because a lot of them were still teenagers, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that got jobs. So you'd walk into the production office and see all these desks, and a lot of the young production assistants and assistant assistants were local kids who grew up in Pawhuska and Fairfax, Hominy and Gray Horse. So it was great to see those faces, and it was great to see them over the course of the year learn and grow. It was really nice. I think every department really made, and I'm just going through departments in my head, and I think there were Native folks on just about every team. Hired a lot of folks from Osage County, from Tulsa, Oklahoma City. But it was, it was interesting for me because I hired a number of local Osage kids on my team, and most of them didn't last because there were other places they wanted to go. They worked for me for a little bit, and then they went to wardrobe, or then they went to camera, then they went to, and it was, it was fine because, I mean, for me, nobody grows up wanting to be a location manager. There's a lot more other glamorous jobs, and a lot of these folks had other interests. And this one young man that came in, he really wanted to work in makeup. He said, Mike, I'm not suited for locations, but I'll do my damnedest. And he came in, he worked for us for about a month, and he was a hardworking kid, really hardworking. He came to me one day sort of sheepish. I knew it was coming. And he said, Mike, I really want to go work in the makeup department. I said, fantastic. Go tomorrow, start tomorrow. If that's what you want to do, go do. And I think that happened a lot on our crew because you see some names shift from department to department, or you'd see on set, coming out of a different truck in the morning. A lot of folks had the opportunity on Killers to sort of find their own place, and they moved from department to department and settled in. And I've got to say the enthusiasm was fantastic. I mean, when you realize you're working with one of the greatest filmmakers in the world, and it's an opportunity that very, very few people get in their career, let alone when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. And it was great to watch a lot of these young folks just stand there and watch watch Marty and watch the DP and Adam Sumner, the AD, just watch what they were doing. I don't know how many times somebody would come up to me, some of these young folks, and ask, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? So it was really great for me to see how people grew in the course of the film. And I don't know if I at all answered your question, Joanelle.
You did, Mike. Absolutely. And, you know, it just makes my heart really full to know that in our communities that they want to be involved in filmmaking. And that's exactly why we developed, you know, and launched RNCI Crew, because RNCI Crew is really a baby idea in 2015. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like, okay, the board and I just said, okay, we just have to just do it. Money or no money, we're just going to go for it, right? So I wanted to just on the heels of what you just shared, Mike, you know, what is a location manager?
In my opinion, we're the most important department on the movie because without us, you know, you're going to shoot on a stage. You know, location manager, we're the people who work collaboratively with the creative team. And that includes the director, the producers, the designer, the cinematographer, the assistant director. From the very beginning, we break down the script, we break down the locations, we try to figure out the best places to scout. We go out and scout them, we vet the locations, you know, on both sides, both on the private end and our end. And once the designer and cinematographer and director and AD all agree on the locations, then it's our job to secure them. And we deal with the public. We deal with the property owners, we deal with the public agencies, from local city councils to the federal government, to secure the permissions that we need to be physically on site, and then to give the rest of the crew grip, electric, camera, props, wardrobe, all the things that they need, whether it's space or a place to be, or permission to be in a place at a certain time, to prep or wrap, or, you know, come in on weekends to tweak their sets. So, and we're sort of a linchpin, I'd like to think, in the production. We're the liaisons between the production and the community, and you know, pretty important department. There weren't location departments 25 years ago. The production manager did all that work, but as projects got bigger and bigger and more complicated, it was just too much for them, and so location management became a real job about probably 35, 40 years ago.
Well, for our audience, Mike, out there, you know, listening, when I share in our community to sign up to RNCI Crew, powered by Crewvie, they go, what is it to be on a set? Like, and I explained to them, it's everyday life. We need painters, we need, you know, construction workers, you know, it's everyday life on a set. And those are the jobs, basically, in a short, you know, description, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. So we're going to move on to our third guest, and we'll come back to you, Mike. I'd like to introduce everyone to Cindy McCrossen.
It's a lot of consonants.
Yeah, I want to make sure. Cindy has been a location scout expert for nearly 20 years. She's been part of some of the successful productions as Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and The Preacher. She is heading up right now the Albuquerque Film Office. And we met Cindy like 2 days after she like 2 days before she was initially officially running the Albuquerque Film Office, when we were with RNCI Crew during India Market last August. So what Cindy does is, you know, she works with the film industry and film crew education in New Mexico, and her position will enable her to transform that passion into new local jobs, new businesses, and even more national visibility for Albuquerque as the #1 film hub, which it is, of everyone there. I remember when my daughter was really little, 7, I said, I'm going to move back home and I'll be able to work. Not, there wasn't a lot of films like there is now. So that's exciting. So you are in charge, the film office is in charge of promoting Albuquerque to TV, film, digital, and ad producers to secure key industry contracts and to recruit production-related companies to relocate their businesses to Duke City. Yeah?
Yeah, you summed it up. And don't forget, post-production as well is sort of a new drive that is, to bring in those partners as well. Virtual reality artists, post-production sound for musicians. Those are some of the growth areas that we're hoping to expand this year. And we also, the office also sponsors a variety of film festivals and different projects, including some directly related to the Indigenous community. The Albuquerque City Council has been gracious to, we don't have a huge budget, the film office, but they've graciously shared some money with us to specifically support Indigenous filmmaker projects, including we're formulating it right now, but boot camp for Indigenous filmmakers this summer at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. And we're sort of seeing how that curriculum is going to take shape and the exact dates for that. So stay tuned. And also a small grant to Two Worlds theater group with it. I think Carma, actually, Harvey is on the board of that group, but we gave them a small monetary sponsorship to create a documentary film about their theater group. So we're trying to, be expansive and inclusive, across the board with a training for crew members, and to elevate our crew members in all the advertising that we do for the city. We have placed a lot of international ads this year, calling out our crew and the high caliber of talent that we have. And sort of like Mike, my locations background sort of makes you this perfect liaison to sort of broker the peace between productions and the community, government entities. When a production lands in your neighborhood, how do you teach a crew that may, or a team that may not be from the area, to be respectful of the land? We film we have a lot of Indigenous partners where we film locations, and how do you sort of broker that peace and make it a win-win for both sides? And I'd like to say New Mexico is blessed by the most, not the most, but in my mind, beautiful land and locations. It does its job. It does our job for us. And I feel super fortunate that my career developed here in the land of enchantment. But so, yeah, as the liaison, you're working between the community and the production and trying to facilitate and move things along.
I wanted to ask you, it's almost been a year. This August will be a year that you've holding this office down, holding this title. And, I'd like to also say that I hope that when we were there in August at the Albuquerque Pueblo Center, who was our partner at that time, that we inspired them to be able to move forward with this boot camp, because that was our intention, right? Is to make
Absolutely.
sure, that things like this happen in our communities. But I wanted to know, it's almost been a year. So what have been your challenges as a woman?
No, it's true. So to highlight, how we as women work in this industry, I mean, women get it. We're a filmmaking community. You're a family, and you have to delegate. You can't do everything yourself. You have to learn to partner and work with each other. And also, women have this ability to get up and go and see something needs doing, and they do it. I don't know what all you gals did this morning, but I fed chickens and walked the dog and baked some bread and prepared for this. And we're good multitaskers, but also good team players. And so it's been a little shift, for me. So that's been a challenge. Moving into a bureaucracy. I told you earlier when we were chatting that it's like I was a feral cat. I'm used to lapping water from the gutter, and then then suddenly I have this job and I have to sit at a desk in a chair and interact with groups that, it's been a huge learning curve for me. Our department is under the Economic Development Department. And so to see that as an opportunity and not a hindrance, to realize that I can help, our office can help tie vendors to the film industry. So that's a big push that we have with our minority business office and small business office, is to figure out ways to connect vendors that can support film industry as well. So that's not only the crew members and the educational partners, but the community itself. People are super interested. And it might be someone who walks dogs, or someone who is a realtor or a drone operator. And so we build those vendor lists, to help incoming productions, but to also help our community learn how to partner and, be a solid support network for incoming films of all sizes. But so that's a bit as far as a challenge. It's just sort of you learn a new pecking order, on a film set, immediately, watch out for, whoever, and you sort of do your job and whatever. And so I've been blindsided a couple of times, like, oh, I've offended someone. I'm so sorry. But, just I'm outspoken. I say things as I see them. And sometimes that's not always diplomatic. So that's the diplomacy part I'm learning.
Well, I hope that we as women don't all have poker faces, that we show up and tell the truth, right? And just call it like it is. It's a good thing. It's an asset.
True. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Cindy. We'll come back around to you as well. I'd like to introduce our other guest, Carma Harvey. She is amazing. And I remember one time we were at Indian Market, and we were walking down the street after this really big event that we were all at. And you were so kind and generous. And actually, I felt like this sense of protection when you were walking with me. It was really, you made me feel really good. And I'm glad that we met in that way. So Carma has been working on, I don't know if it's wrapped or not, the TV series coming out, Dark Winds, and it's a AMC Studios production. She is also a local 480 union member. She's also SAG-AFTRA. She's also an actress and a stunt performer. And welcome to the team here.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
My mic hooked up, but I just have my MacBook. So thank you for inviting me, and it's good to hear and meet and connect with other crew members and individuals who are in the industry. And yeah, I am excited, and thank you. I've just been running from one thing to the next. Just prior to this, I was actually on my general membership meeting with our local 480. That's why I was just like, and then before that, I'm prepping for a current feature film that I'm working on right now. My primary gig is I call it prop mistress or master. And I was a prop master on Dark Winds. And I continue that role just because it's something that I'm passionate about in the industry. And also, if there ever is need be, because I am, like Joanelle was mentioning, is that I am a SAG-AFTRA stunt performer and actor. So whenever I book a role, which is few and far between, I mean, I'm passionate about that as well. There's just so many different opportunities in this industry that even Mike was mentioning, you know, starting from the base layer of starting as a PA on up to a key, becoming a key in your department that you choose for your craft. Of course, takes years. And it's just finding what you're passionate about, you know, what you love doing, and what really keeps, when you are working, it's not necessarily work, you know, it's more of you're enjoying what you're doing, you know. And that's how I feel about doing props. A lot of times there might be researching that's involved, where you have to do tremendous amount of research, because if it's a period piece, then, you know, of course you have to do research. You have to look in that time period, what was during that time, and if there was a phone, what kind of phones were during that time period, you know. Just anything that has to do with hand props. If you don't know exactly what props are in the industry, it has anything to do with the actor or background actor touching that certain hand prop. So like this is a hand prop, or this is a hand prop. So just making sure that all those props make it to set during the scenes. And also Mike was mentioning about, you know, breaking down the script. Exactly that's one of the first things you do whenever you're coming onto the show is, you know, the production designer calls you, you make the meeting, and first thing you want to do is read the script, you know, and a lot of times breaking that down page by page and character by character, and finding out, you know, the load. You know, is this something that you can do? Or a lot of times, are you passionate about the story? Does the story move you? Do you want to be part of this? And for me, those are choices that I make whenever I decide to jump on a show, you know. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wanted to ask you, because we've heard, you know, we're hearing so many things on Facebook, reading and hearing, and but you were on Dark Winds. How was that like, being a Native Indigenous woman on this film with all these men?
Yeah. Well, it's not so much the men, you know. Okay. I mean, a lot of the crew, and yeah, we're probably, I mean, a lot of stories get thrown around, but I was a department head on the crew, and a lot of times you are put in situations or where, like, here's an example. I mean, I was told that by one of the executive producers because I'm Dine, I'm Navajo, you know, and the story has a lot of that culture. And if you see something, hear something, speak up, you know, speak up. We want to tell the story. We want to be authentic to the story, you know. So a lot of that was, you know, you see something, you hear something. I spoke up, but then I get that the production is on a time schedule, you know, and they can't do certain things, and the Native consultants can't be there 24 hours, or not 24 hours, but can't be there every day, you know, that we're filming, because you usually bring Native consultants in whenever there's a Native scene happening, you know. But being Dine, being Native, or being Dine, being Navajo, I'm saying that only just because, in case our audience don't know, our true name is Dine, which is otherwise known as Navajo. So when I say Dine, it's referring to Navajo. So anyhow, so being Dine, I mean, you know certain things, you know, and when you see something, you'll speak up, and exactly what I did. And that got the production in a you know, in a just like, because we have to do this, we have to go, get the costume designer, we have to get this. And it's just, and then everybody just came in, and then UPM's like, what, you just lost us some time here, half an hour, we only have this young actor for a certain amount of time. But I was just like, hey man, I was just doing my job, I was told to speak up, and this is what I see. So it's really tricky because you want to be true to the story, but then at the same time, it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you speak up, then all of everyone else who is I would say the above the line is telling you we can't do that. And it's just like, well, So anyhow, I ran into quite a bit of that on the set. And, there was still some scenes in the show that I was like, oh my God, they're really gonna use that. They're showing that, and it's already done, I mean, because we can't be there all the time, because I'm prepping my own crew. And then when you show up to set and you see something that's part of set dressing, you're just like, oh my God, what, and you can't change it because they already made up their mind. But then you're just like, okay, that would never happen, So it's a really tricky situation. And that's why it would be nice, if there were more. That's why for myself, I'm trying to go up into those roles. I want to eventually, hopefully, I'm still young, even though, yay to my birthday, which is March 23rd, I'll be 51. But
happy birthday.
Thank you. And I would like to, eventually be in those roles as making those executive decisions and making sure that a story is told properly. But then I know it's a hard thing, because I know that they had some writers who were Dine, but even the writers, they weren't there, and it was just, sometimes it was mayhem, it was like, oh my God,
It seems like a lot of times they don't bring in the specialist early enough. So
exactly.
you are forced to see the problem on set. Whereas if folks were brought in earlier, I know on Killers, we had a lot of Indigenous folks that were all over the place early on. We still had problems like, oh my God, the blank wrong way. Only an Osage would know that. Well, the person that should have been involved wasn't involved early enough.
Right.
So I think that's, you see it with specialists, not just with Indigenous, but with military or other specialties. You bring the person in on the day and it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I have to speak to that because I voiced even early on when I was reading the script, I saw some things, and my crew, who is also Dinesh, we saw some things in the script and we brought it to the attention and said, we want to sit down with the writers because honestly, I'm from that time period. It was like late 60s, early 70s. I'm early 70s. I grew up in that area in the time period. I mean, my grandfather was a very well-known medicine man. I mean, just things we're just like, we want to talk to the writers, I mean, I know that I'm just a prop master, but I mean, I know what's up in that area and being Dine. And it was promised, oh yeah, you'll get with the writers, we'll have you sit down, and it just never happened, so it's just like, well, okay, so those were just some of the challenges. And yeah, there's really no, I mean, on the day, you really can't do anything about it. You could speak up, but then if a decision is made, then, it's just, you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well, I'm really happy that you shared that because it's an important thing. And I noticed that you said just a prop master, and I want to just say something, and especially now that the Academy Awards is happening. They took like these categories and, it's like, wait a minute, every single position is important. Every single role is important. And it's a community and it's a team build. No one's better than, lesser than, or anything. It's like, I know for our RNCI, for our institute, sometimes I'm the janitor. It's like, it's like it's a team, it's a team.
Right.
And so Yeah, well, I really appreciate you, and I also am glad that you voiced that you want to be in other executive positions. And I'm gearing up to do a film and in New Mexico, and I want to talk to you after.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to bring everybody, all of our guests, back on to camera, and let's just have a dialogue, you know. And everyone just jump in. And I really, it's going back to the initial question that I posed at the beginning. Is Hollywood really being inclusive when they use the word diversity when it comes to Native and Indigenous talent? Or are they just checking the box? And is it still just a black and white conversation in Hollywood? It's a loaded question. We could be poker face. No, but it's a healthy question, and it needs to be dialogued about.
It is, and yeah. You know, a lot of that for myself is that there is diversity, but then it's like the dates. You know, a lot of times not everybody's available during that time, or they're working on another project, or they're not trained enough. You know. So it's just it's getting our community trained, you know, and that's where I feel like we need to make that happen. And being a part of Two Worlds, I'm a board member on Two Worlds that Cindy was mentioning earlier, and Two Worlds is in that spectrum right now where we're trying to create a. It's already been here, but they're trying to make this art space, you know, where we can have that training available. And also, I mean, it's a theater group, but then it's different mediums. You know, currently they're doing a documentary right now, and a couple of directors, female, who are spearheading the documentary along with Kim, who is our executive director. And so it's theater, it's it's short films, it's even commercials. I mean, there's just so many things that we do with Two Worlds, and that's, if you don't, it's a nonprofit organization, but definitely training the community is where it would start, even if we are getting them from a PA position and letting them see the ins and outs of it in the film industry, or the feature or the television show, and having their decisions on where they want to go from that point, what crafts they feel passionate about.
I want to say it's such an excellent question. And this is the reason why Jeanette and I created Crewvie. This is a place where people can gather as a community. It's a centralized platform where communities can go on and be found. This is exactly why we created Crewvie. Between vendors who want to be found, when Cindy talks about vendors in Albuquerque and they want to be found, and they can help everything from the dry cleaner to the event space to the caterer to the dog walker, like you said, and people of all communities. I mean, we host Women in Film, we host 1 in 4, we host these communities on our site so they can be found, they can work together, they can level up. It's just hitting the nail on the head for us. When Mike talks about employing the Osage people on his show, we have something in Crewvie where if you're new to the industry, you can create a profile and put aspiring in front of the position that you want to be in. Because I know as a producer, I don't want to hire the PA in the art department if they want to be an editor, or if they want to be in the camera department, or if they never want to go to set and they want to be in the production office, or they want to be in accounting. You want to connect people to where they aspire to be, and then you can complete the circle for the art department who really wants that person to be there, or the costume department who wants that person to be there. And this is a place where people can be found, where they can create their own profile, and they can say who they want to be known and how they want to be known. If they want to be a woman over 40, or if you just want to be known as the best damn cinematographer in the industry. So you can, the inclusion attributes there are, however you want to be known and found. You can check all these boxes or not check any of the boxes and just be, this is my name, this is my location, and this is how you can find me. I mean, this just speaks to all of us here.
Even before education and training comes informing. I know when a lot of these young Osage kids came in, I'm not being disparaging when I say kids, because I mean, I'm an old coot, and all these young kids are young kids. They're like, could be my grandchildren. They had no idea what opportunities were out there. Somebody told them, go down to the production office and apply for a job. They didn't even know what the jobs were. So one of the things that I want to do in Oklahoma with the film office this coming year is put together, I've talked about this for a couple of years. I would love to put a session on in Oklahoma because there's so many nations there, and maybe use this as a model for other places, is have like a show and tell. Have every department come in and have a booth and grip, electric, camera, locations, set deck, visual effects, have a gymnasium full of tables with local union crew people who can explain the job, show clips from their films, this and that. So that these young kids, high school kids, get them in high school, get them in early college, get them at that age where, they're out of high school, they're not going to go to college, hit them when they're still sort of ripe and give them the opportunity to see 50 different positions or opportunities in the film business. Then we can work on the training. So I'd love to do that. I know there's a lot of places that could work because there's a lot of folks who are in high unemployment areas. I'm in Montana. Unemployment in this county is as high as it's ever been. So to give folks the opportunity just to learn that there's, in high school, I never thought about the film business. It was something totally foreign to me. It was totally unapproachable. So I think that's an important aspect that we sometimes neglect, is just getting folks at a stage in their life where we can expose them to all these new opportunities.
Well, and from my perspective, and as a woman who's worn many different hats throughout my life, to also encourage people to realize what skills they have already and that can be applied. I've seen so many women these days in departments that you wouldn't think of, like the grip and electric, and they're pushing these carts with stacked up with sandbags, and they're laying this 5-pound rolls of cable, and they're driving trucks, and they're doing, unconventional, say, for women, because I'm an older generation as well, and to sort of help potential crew members evaluate their skills that they already have. And I mentioned before, that I think that women and people from divergent backgrounds have this ability to to see a problem and to solve it. To that team playing makes your skills applicable in a lot of different departments. The state of New Mexico has a fairly new incentivization called Operation Soundstage, which takes veterans who have tangible skills and can, with a little bit of coaching, slide sideways and apply those skills to film. And I think you have skills, and it might just be learning how to apply them in particular. And also IATSE, I'm a IATSE member as well. And there's, if you have 5 years experience in a particular arena, you can accelerate your entry into the union with just some minor mentoring, and boom, you're ready to go. And so I encourage crew members to think about what skills they have in other arenas in their life that might be able to transition them quickly into being film ready.
Yeah, I think that's great. I just wrapped a show 2 weeks ago, Amazon show, where the best boy the best girl was the electrician. The best boy electric was a female, and she had 3 other female electricians on her crew, which was fantastic. So again, Crewvie is becoming a place where it can be centralized, since it feels like we're all rowing in the same direction. It's a place for people to gather and be found and create communities. I know as a female, I came up as a PA, and then an AD, and then a UPM, and then a line producer, and I'm a producer and have my own company with other partners. But you know, it was hard. It was hard as an AD to raise two children. And again, another reason why Jeanette and I created Crewvie is to create a community where people could gather and be found and be supported, a centralized place. So, and we're finding that more women are on Crewvie, or respond to the inclusion attributes and want to be found, and and it's a place for people to level up. So we want to raise people up, and we just wanted one central place where people could do it together.
Right. Well, and Crewvie is the go-to as far as getting talent to go investigate the Crewvie site. Everyone's brought up some really interesting points. And I'd like to say, I've been in the industry 44 years, right? And I started off as an actress, and my first leading role was a film called The Girl Called Hatter Fox. And it was the first contemporary Native woman story ever produced. And then went on to do Powwow Highway, George Harrison's last film that he produced. And then I was in New Mexico in we moved back home when my daughter was little in 1994. And I noticed during Indian Market, there was no contemporary music being performed. So I created Red Nation Celebration Institute, was born, founded during Indian Market. And, and while there, I was inspired to direct a film, which was shortlisted for an Academy Award called American Holocaust. When it's all over, I'll still be Indian. All this as a single mom raising 2 kids. And I just, and the Institute has grown into this incredible, this August would be 27 years old. And we have the largest Native film festival in the country. We're the only Native Indigenous nonprofit that broadcasts an award ceremony. We have original content. We were online streaming predating Netflix. At the time, YouTube was the only one doing that. And I could go on and on and on. And we have Native women in film and television, which we're here today for. And it's been a powerful experience, growing up in this industry, growing up in Hollywood, and being in this industry, and the obstacles that I personally have had, and the challenges that I've had to face as a Native Indigenous woman in this industry has been prolific. It's the one thing that's the saving grace, and why I'm still in this, why I'm still rocking and rolling and doing this, and inspiring, and hopefully inspiring other organizations and partnerships and so forth, is because our Native and Indigenous talent is so talented. And we are the only group, I don't know if that's the right word, only community that have untapped stories. Hollywood keeps regurgitating the same story, another facelift, same story, the same people, but we have untapped stories. This is what I get excited about. It's like giving birth to many, many babies, right? This is exciting. stories that we think different because we have a different language. We don't have words like hate and anger and war and all those weird English words. So our brain thinks different. So our stories are different. Our relationships are different, but the silver lining, it's the human condition still. So all of our blood is red. Even our animals have red blood. So it's that silver lining of that connectedness that you out there, the audience, the studios, the networks can relate to, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And it's the human story. And we have untapped stories. So I'm excited about that.
So you say that. I heard so many stories. I was in Oklahoma for a good chunk of 2 years, 2.5 years. And I met a lot of Native folks, and, you know, from young kids to some of the elders. And sitting, Liz, I sat with one gentleman. He's one of the very, very few full-blooded Osage remaining. And we were supposed to have a little, 30-minute lunch and continue with our day. And 4 of us sat there with this guy for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And it seemed, and I talked to one of the guys after he left. I said, there's like 1,000 movies here. You could take one sentence from this, what this guy was talking about, and make a movie out of it. It was pretty incredible. And it's all fresh. It's all new.
Yep.
Because as you said earlier, most of the stories that you see and that we have seen for the last 50 or 60 years are all the same damn story, just slightly changed. And from a white man's perspective, pretty much.
Totally from a white man's perspective.
It's a new voice
Totally.
that needs to be told.
Yeah. And so I have hope, right? And I'm still in it for the long haul. I'll never retire. I know that. Well, maybe no.
Hold on. I just did. I'll tell you, it's pretty darn good.
No, don't tell me yet, because I still have a little bit more to do.
There's still a lot of work to do when you're retired. That's the good thing. But
Okay.
you don't have to. You're not working to make money. You're working to help other people. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend my time in education.
Yeah. But I just want to say we're coming up to an hour, and I just adore all of you. I love you all. I think the world of all of you, and for taking the time today to participate in the 13th annual. We're the only Native women in television and all media film festival in the country. And it's our 13th annual. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
How did I get started? How did I sneak in here? I'm the only guy.
Because well, you're the only man in this whole festival for the next. The festival runs today until the 24th, and we have it during the lead up to the Academy Awards to keep our image in everyone's face, right? Carma's image, my image, all the other Native Indigenous women. That I just want to say that and I'll answer your question, Mike, in a minute. In 1977, from 1977 to A Girl Called Hatter Fox, it took Hollywood 42 years to do another contemporary story, and that was Netflix's Chambers. 42 years. I'm gonna let that soak in. 1977 to 2019, 42 years. What? So we're talking about inclusion, diversity, where? This is where I get frustrated. And then from, I think it was 2003, I don't have the dates in front of me, 2003 to 2019, the networks, all the 4 major networks completely wrote us out of the narrative, Native women. I used to make my living as an episodic actress. That's how I made my living. And then all of a sudden, there was no work. A year went by, and then another year went by, and then another year. And then they had 2 series with Irene DeBard in 2019 and Tentoon. Those 2 series didn't make it. I knew they wouldn't. It was like a tax write-off. Anyway, it didn't make it. And now we're back to square one again. No, where are we? Our youth are suffering from not seeing themselves on that screen. I know that for a fact. there's psychological things that happen inside the spirit from not being able to see themselves. And so that's why I work really hard and 24/7 and staying on this case with the industry, because it needs to change. And I know, with Red Nation Celebration Institute, we have inspired so many of not only the industry, but our Native talent to step up to the plate and take action. And I challenge today, when the film industry or whoever listens to this, I'm a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, whatever members are listening, do something, take action, support our Native and Indigenous talent in front of and behind the camera. Hire us today, because we're kind of tired of the black and white conversation. It's getting really super old. We need to step it up. So I just want to say, I want to thank you, Marcei and Mike and Cindy and Carma for joining us, and Alex for singing that beautiful, precious song. I appreciate all of you. Keep up the good work. And for all of you out there, do you have one last thing to say? Mike, you're here because I love you, because this is RNCI crew, and LMGI was the first one to step up and partner. That's why you're here.
Yeah, I know that. And Kirsten, Kristen's done just a great job, coordinating with you. She's done a fantastic job. We're so proud.
No, she's brilliant. Like, she's crazy good.
Yeah.
Janelle, I wanted to say one thing. I feel like there's I feel like there's hope here, because Jeanette and I do speak to the studios and the production heads, and they are committed to the DEI. And what we're seeing now is that what used to be, we should do this, it's becoming more than ever. It's something that we can start to see that they are committed to making these changes and to disrupting the norm. So in the talks that we're having with those people, they are making a commitment, and so we can start to see more of a balanced team being built behind the camera. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's why we're all here together. Everyone that's on this panel, all of you are making that difference to be inclusive and not just lip service or checking a box of hiring Native and Indigenous talent. And I just want to thank all of you for being with us today. And for all of you that are listening, the festival opens today. There's 40 films directed by women, Indigenous, and with our allies from a Native lens. So go to our website, nativewomeninfilm.com, and binge watch, have fun, and experience us for maybe the first time, maybe not, but some of them are award-winning films. And tomorrow at 3:00, we will have Who Tells the Story Matters, Representation Matters. And that's a whole array of incredible guests as well. So tune in tomorrow. I want to thank you, Marcei, Mike, Cindy, and Carma for joining us today, and Alex. We'll see you next time.
I was honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Nice
so
to meet
much.
everybody.
The story continues.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.